What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over all of the new changes that we know so far for franchise mode in Madden 19. Now, if this is your first time checking out one of my videos and you want to stay up to date on all the latest Madden 19 news, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. Make sure to hit the bell icon so that you join the notification squad and never miss an upload. So what's up, guys? Like I said, today we're going to be covering all of the latest changes to franchise mode that we know so far. There's still going to be more to drop, at least I would think so, because we're still very early on. But there are a lot of new great changes that we already know about so far, and we might not know, how in depth these changes go, but I definitely wanted to cover them all because I know franchise mode is something that a lot of people love, franchise and CFM both. And that community has felt very slighted for the past few years. They feel like they don't really get a lot of the updates or overhauls that they need or want to make the game mode more fun and appealing to them. And they're diehards and they really want these updates. And I think this year you're finally getting a lot of these updates. Rex Dixon did say that he owed you guys this year, and so far it looks like there are some good changes. Hopefully there are more to come, but without further ado, let's get into some of the new changes that we know so far. So you can control your scheme like never before this year. You can take complete control over how you build your dynasty, so you now have all new ways of constructing your team and how you want them to play. First off, we have schemes, just flat out schemes. Now, schemes are already in the game, but it's going deeper this year and it'll actually mean something, whereas this year or years past, the scheme that you picked didn't truly really mean anything. So you might want to be a power run offense or a vertical offense or maybe a West Coast offense. You could already do that in the game, but like I said, didn't really mean much. On defense, you might want to be a 4-3 or a 3-4 defense. You might want to play more of a zone style defense, whereas other people might want to build a defense that plays predominantly man. What makes the schemes come together is you now want to align the players that fit your scheme. If you want to run more of a zone defense, you don't want to draft a cornerback that's predominantly a man cornerback, or that his skill set is more fit to be a man cornerback. If you want to play a power run offense, you don't want to draft a running back that's more elusive and finesse. It sounds kind of simple, but we're going to get more into, a little bit more in detail with it, and you'll see how it plays out. So this is where the new positional archetypes come into play. If you've played NBA 2K or NBA Live this year, you're familiar with this. For example, in the NBA games, if you had a point guard, he could be a shoot first point guard, or he could be a pass first, or he can be an aggressive get to the rim type like a Russell Westbrook, for example. This is now in franchise mode for Madden. So, for example, some cornerbacks maybe are considered zone cornerbacks, others are considered man cornerbacks, and then you have some cornerbacks that are just considered slot cornerbacks. They excel in the slot, and that's predominantly where they play. They're nickelbacks, they come in passing situations, they don't really play on early downs. Some wide receivers are considered slot wide receivers only. They excel in the slot. Think of like a Jordan Matthews, even though Jordan Matthews isn't that great, but his best production has come in the slot, whereas other wide receivers can kind of move all over. The stud wide receivers can move all over and be good no matter where you put them. You've got elusive running backs, you've got power running backs, you've got mobile quarterbacks, you've got pocket quarterbacks. The thing with these archetypes is that they now affect your team. So if you have a power run team, but you draft wide receivers who can't really run block, or running backs who aren't very strong, that can affect how your team will actually perform now. So it's more important than ever to draft and sign players that actually fit the scheme that you have chosen for your team. These labels in years past were just kind of there and didn't really matter at all, but now they actually have a purpose. Your players can actually get boost by playing in the right scheme that fits their archetype. So if you have a power running back and you're in a power run scheme, it's probably going to be easier to upgrade that player specific to his archetype, whereas if you put an elusive running back in a power scheme, he's not really going to get any boost. It's going to be a little harder to upgrade him because he's not in the right fit. And we know this if you're a sports fan, whether it's football, basketball, it doesn't matter what the sport is. You often hear that term of some players just weren't the right fit. Maybe you drafted a guy, you thought he was going to be something other than he kind of was. He turned out not being the right fit. A lot of players wind up getting traded, for mid-round draft picks, or wind up being released when, coming out, it looked like they had a lot of promise, but sometimes it's just about the fit, and then you see those same players go to other teams where their coaches knew how to use them properly, or the scheme was better fit for them, and they excelled. I mean, you hear this all the time where people say some quarterbacks are just system quarterbacks, or this wide receiver only excelled in this scheme. That's very true, and now that can be true for Madden as well, based on the new archetypes and how they tie into the schemes. Moving along, the new XP system ties into this as well, which is what I was just getting at. Most of you are familiar with earning skill points as you play, and you use these skill points to upgrade selected ratings. Now, each skill point will upgrade multiple ratings at one time based on the player archetype. So again, picking the right players to fit your scheme is crucial now, because it also affects how you can upgrade them. So if you put a zone cornerback into a scheme where you're playing mostly man, well, it's going to be harder to upgrade him. But if you put him in that right scheme, you're going to be able to upgrade him multiple ratings at a time, or at least that's what it says, based on his archetype. So if he's zone defense and you want to upgrade his zone, it might upgrade other things that actually play into him being a good zone defender. So these are things you have to really take into consideration, whereas in the past, you really could just put anybody anywhere and it really just didn't matter. Another great addition is designated depth chart positions. So what this basically means is you'll now have more depth chart spots to put certain players to fill certain roles. So think about how the depth chart is now. You have the third down running back spot. Most people are familiar with that, where you can put whichever running back you want to be on the field on third downs. So now we're going to have this for other spots, which gives you more control than ever over your scheme. Once again, it's all about control and building the perfect team, scheme, and dynasty this year. Instead of having to manually sub players in and out based on situations, you can now have this preset, or at least that's what it sounds like. So for example, think of having a defensive tackle that you play on early downs when you expect the run, but on passing downs you have more of a pass rushing defensive tackle in the game. Or just think of how in the NFL there's certain pass rushers who pretty much only come in on third down or third and long when it's must pass. Think of like Dante Fowler for the Jags last year. He really only came in the game most often on those third down and longs, because that's what he excelled at, was just rushing the passer, whereas their other defensive ends were a little bit more balanced. They could stop the run and the pass. Or think of how certain defensive backs go to the slot depending on the down. Certain times safeties might come into play nickel back on, those third downs, or you have, like, again, you have your specific nickel back who comes in on those passing downs. These are the type of things that we can expect in franchise mode this year, which sounds really great. Now we get to custom draft classes. Custom draft classes are back, something people have wanted for a while now. This is one of the biggest requests from the franchise community and from the CFM community. You can now create and import custom draft classes. So now you can have real life created rookies, legend teams, you name it. You can have the upcoming rookie class now, whereas you couldn't do that this past year. And that really kind of is a buzzkill for franchise and CFM. This is probably the biggest thing EA could have done as far as franchise and CFM goes. Without those custom rookie classes, it's really hard to fully enjoy the franchise mode. Moving along, this right here really isn't a franchise specific thing, but it kind of ties into franchise in my opinion. Team celebrations are in the game, which we saw a lot of in the NFL this year when they lifted, the celebration ban. We saw some crazy specific team celebrations. They will now be in the game, although we don't know which ones will be in the game yet, but I'm sure some of the popular ones will be. Think of like the hide and seek celebration we saw, things like that. So hopefully this is something we actually have the ability to choose. That would be really nice. Like, say you score a touchdown and you can pick which celebration your team does. That would be pretty cool. But the fact that the celebrations are in the game in general, especially for franchise mode, people that just play online or just play quick matches, this might not be as big of a deal to them. But in franchise mode, this just it connects so much more with franchise mode in my opinion, because it's just the overall experience and the presentation. People that play franchise mode, yes, they care about gameplay, they care about the control and building their dynasty, but they also care about the presentation, because that's what makes it fun. The celebrations, the things you see pre-game, the cut scenes in between plays, all of these little things help enhance the experience. So team celebrations being back is definitely another good thing for franchise and CFM. So that's all we have so far. I think those are some pretty good changes to kickstart things. Hopefully there's more changes than that, although I think these are some really good changes. definitely hope there are some more stuff as well, because like I said, franchise guys have been waiting a while, so they deserve a lot more. And we'll know more of the week of, I believe, June 11th is the week that the franchise stuff will be going into play. Let me double check that really quickly just so I don't leave you guys. Yes, it's June 11th is the franchise week, so that's when you can expect them to deep dive into all these things here that we already know, but possibly some more stuff as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, as always, just drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.